All right, I have 6 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order. I'm going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, thank you for everybody coming out to our special meeting. Hopefully this won't take very long. I know there were some...
those stories before.
Yes, I apologize. I get long-winded sometimes. So there was some confusion on some comments I made last meeting about the funds for the wastewater treatment plant, sewer, operating utility, and so just kind of, I know years ago when I worked for the Indianapolis Fire Department, our EMS chief always kept telling me, message received is more important than the message given. And first time he said that, I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, just, you can say anything you want to say, but if somebody doesn't hear it the way you intended, then you're going to have a miscommunication. So we always want to clarify things that, what we're talking about, but I don't know if you want me to explain stuff first, or you want to ask the question first, just so that make sure that I'm talking about the right information.
Right, I got an outline because I wasn't sure how we would go about it, so go ahead.
Okay, you have the floor.
I'll have the floor. That's not fair.
That's not what you wanted.
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
You want me to go first?
what do you? When I was giving reports at the school, it's better to go first, so.
So stand up.
All right. All right, I'll just give how it was received.
Got it.
And you can go from there.
Perfect.
So, originally, because I've been doing this for, if everybody can believe it, it's already been going on 35 years at the sewer plant. So when I started, it was always a yearly contract. We signed the contract every year. Not sure why it was that way, but it started and we went on to it forever. Then in July of 2021, a draft job description was created. So we said, hey, we're gonna go to a job description. And I said, well, there's a lot of stuff in the job description that we don't necessarily have at the sewer plant and or was not previously part of what we had always been doing at the sewer plant. So we tabled it, and because I voiced that concern. So then on August 21st, we tabled it again because we still had some issues with that. Then on September 21st, we agreed to that job description because it said it was needed for the asset management plan. And so as we said, okay, just go with it the way it is. Don't worry about taking the stuff out. If it's just to get the paperwork done, go for it. With the understanding that we're still only obligated to do what we had kind of always done in the past, which was stuff that was in the fence of the sewer plant, making the sewer plant operate, but providing assistance wherever, you know, it might be needed otherwise. And then when we had the meeting here, it was said that basically I was caught off guard because I was in charge of all the money that is in a fund for the sewer plant, which is a pretty decent amount of money. Let's see, at a previous board meeting, I was given permission because, I back up a little bit, I would always come and basically nickel and dime the board in the sense that, hey, I need a hammer, or I need a this, or I need a that. They finally said, enough of that. Just, we're gonna give you a limit of $5,000. So anything you need up to $5,000, you just take care of it, make it happen, make the plant keep running and be good. So that's kind of where my conception was, that I'm only allowed to spend up to $5,000 at will, but then anything above that, I can make recommendations and the board can actually go in and say yes or no, whatever the case might be. Similar to like we did with the auger monster. I mean, that was a big number, right? That was
Right.
close to like $90,000.
Yeah,
Like,
80-some
no way
thousand.
I'm making that kind of decision without, you know, the board's input. And then, so then, when it came up about can we use the funds at the sewer plant to get the tractor / backhoe, I was totally caught off guard because like, I don't know. We've already got a lot of outstanding debts down there because of the, catch my breath here, the Reagan Street issue. We've already kind of allocated based upon what we've already spent, and then additionally, for the work that's yet to be done, we're looking at about $270,000 that we need to spend down there to finish that project up. There's still some stuff at the sewer plant that long-term needs to be looked at, but I think that could be separated out, and where do we go with that? There is another larger project that needs to probably be done. When they did the lining, they did section A, section B, and a little bit of section C. What they didn't do was an area up here, whatever your road is,
York Avenue.
York Avenue, that's in pretty serious shape as well. So I talked to the team and said, well, how much are we looking at for that? Do you remember the numbers?
$275,000.
About $275,000 for that up there. So that's why, well, I don't know if we can spend the money for the tractor and or not, because there's a lot of funds that need to happen. So that's where I was coming from as to, can we spend it or not? I don't know. I don't feel like I was responsible for that money that's in there, other than to bring recommendations and suggestions to the board. So, am I leaving anything out?
A whole bunch, but that's okay.
So,
Do you wanna elaborate on what is being
Well,
left out?
back to the, whether we had money or not in the sewer fund for the tractor / backhoe or whatever. I was also caught off guard because we've never been in charge of even making the decisions as to what that money in the sewer funds was going to be spent for. And when we were at the meeting that night, I felt that it was tabled, that there was no decision being made on it. And then we received a phone call Saturday morning asking him to give the okay for a down payment to be put on said tractor / backhoe. And I felt that was inappropriate because it had already been talked about at the town board, but yet then it was brought to us again on Saturday to put money down on this tractor when we didn't even know that we were supposed to have that ability to spend any of the funds in that manner.
All right. Any questions, thoughts?
So when we're speaking of the stuff inside the fence, I know in the contract, one of the things that was spelled out, there was things like, you know, and I think, I don't know if you remember, there were like drying beds, things like that. We don't have any of that at the sewer plant. It was put in there that our job description would be to take care of the collection system and the stormwater side of it. I'm losing my train of thought on this. So, I mean, we've been helping out with that, and there's a lot of progress that has been made for it, but I still didn't feel like we were ultimately responsible for it, because if you back up in time, we've been kind of feeding information into, was it Dan when he was the town manager, and then Jeff Eater, as to those types of things. But we've made some good progress in trying to find I&I, like the Reagan Street. We found some other areas that, like I say, this area up here by your street that is done. We even did some dye testing in the sewer drain to make sure it wasn't connected with the storm sewer itself. So.
Here's your.
So I think that's where we were coming at from. That's why we're so, at least myself, so caught off guard by how do I get permission to use money that I didn't think I was in charge of? So.
And
Sure.
And like Doug said at the meeting the other night, that's your money. I would have took it the same way you were, that you had control of all that money to do with whatever you want. That's how I assumed it the other night. But
So I see there's three different kind of issues here. One is whether you're comfortable or not handling work outside of the fenced-in area. that falls under wastewater treatment or sewage treatment,
Right.
or, you know. And then there's the money point, whether or not managing or calling shots on the budget, you know. And then there's the tractor. So there's three different
Right.
things here that we're discussing. My first big question is, since we need your expertise on stuff outside the fenced-in area, are you comfortable with and okay with doing that kind of work?
Yeah, I think from the technical standpoint, more, yeah, definitely. I think my expertise and background and history would lend well to serving that. I know how to ask questions, I know how to get things done.
Mhm.
I can make things happen.
Okay.
That's got follow-up questions, because
Well, I mean, I know that your knowledge on how the system works from exiting a house
Right.
down to the plant and then getting inside the fenced-in area is a little bit more higher than any of ours. And so,
I can give you an
We-
example to support that too, in that, you know, everybody knows here that we've hooked onto the school, right?
Yeah.
I've already identified some concerns there, so I'm already addressing that. Does that have anything to do with the sewer plant? No, it's something that's happening between point A and point B that's gonna affect me when it gets there.
Okay.
So I'm already addressing that
so,
in such a way to solve the
so
problem.
to clear that away, you're okay with dealing or being our go-to person for stuff outside the fenced-in area?
Sure. You good with that?
He's addressing you, not me.
Well, either of you, I mean, I guess,
Yeah.
Because there's, like I say, there's a side part of it is, it gets to be, I don't wanna do it, I don't know how else to say this, with the compensation I'm getting paid down there, I think I need to discuss that part of it, because it's a lot of work. There's a lot
Okay.
of work to, I've just dabbled in since the last meeting, it's like, wow, if I gotta be in charge of all this, how much is there? I have found so many problems, I found problems with the asset management plan, I found problems with that big drawing that we have that says everything was done. There's stuff on it that said it was done that hasn't been done. So I mean, we're gonna spend lots of hours. I look at Mindy because I lean on her to help dig through all this stuff.
okay,
She's got not like what I said, but she's got a good degree in herself, and she knows how to dig through this stuff.
Mhm.
I have no problems helping out with that particular part of it. My issue was when it came up to the money and discussing, you know, where the funds were going to go. We're not grant writers, we don't have that capability,
Right.
neither one of us.
Right.
So then it, you know, it fell into that, the money situation is what threw us, I guess, really for a loop. As far as the collection system, the town's only liable up to the laterals of each house. The lateral and on up is the homeowners. So whatever happens from that lateral up belongs to that landowner or whoever, not the sewer plant or the town. So, I mean, as far as the collection system itself, we have no problems helping out with finding where the I&I is, going through the videos that we already have. You know, he has manhole covers that we are having cameras installed on,
Right.
so that we can go over different places and find those I&I issues. So we have no problem with that. It was just when it all got thrown at us at once, and it was like, before, the town board and the town manager were the ones that took care of that. Asked us for input, or asked George for input, and we found out what information we could to help them,
Mhm.
to support them. But as far as us making the decisions when any of those projects came about, no, that was not something that we,
Up to this point.
right,
Yeah.
up to this point.
But to answer your question, could we do it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem.
Right, okay. And then I think the money part, I don't know, I mean, we would all need to, I guess we need to have a discussion about each component
Right.
that we're talking about, so.
And, I mean, to go back to my comment about it's your money, that was what I said, what I'm hearing is causing all the confusion. So, I mean, this is a user utility, and so when this money gets paid into by businesses and property owners, residences, into this fund, the town puts this money into that special fund related to, and it's tagged for wastewater and sewer
Right.
only. I can't use that money to build a parking lot across the street or to redo our roof in this building or, I mean, any of those things. It's not, we're not allowed to use it for anything other than sewer, wastewater kind of stuff and stormwater. So because of how that bill goes out, there's, part of it is stormwater as well. But, so since you two are the people that we've hired to oversee what's going on at the wastewater treatment plant and help out with the collection system, that was what I meant, is if we come up with an idea, I mean, since none of us have the same certifications that you two have, then if I just come up here and say, I'm gonna make a decision on spending stormwater or sewer water money on something, I mean, that just seems to be out of place for me to do that when you guys have an idea of what's going on down at the wastewater treatment plant and with the sewer. So, you know, if I suddenly commit, you know, $100,000 of your money or the money that's in the sewer fund
Yeah.
to something that doesn't fit with your plan and what's going on with the town, then that's when I need you to speak up and say, this doesn't fit,
Yeah.
this doesn't work, so we shouldn't do this. That's what I rely on from you two, is to tell me that. I mean, similar to, I mean, back when GRW gave us this document, you guys and I met in the office and went through this document, and there was things in here that we said,
Yeah.
why did they put this in there? We're not gonna do this. I mean, the chlorination, you know, tank that you have, they wanted to convert that over to the ultraviolet
Right.
light nonsense thing, and it didn't make any sense. You don't like that system. I asked them, is this gonna cost us less? They said no. I said, is this gonna be more efficient? They said no. And I said, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why would we wanna do this? And, you know, they were just like, well, that's cause we don't like chlorine. That's what they said. And I'm like, well, we do. So we told them, you know,
So we're told we can't, that's.
toss that out.
I
Get-
would prefer to keep using.
Right.
It's an easier, cheaper.
And, you know, Darren was very adamant that, well, that chlorine is a, you know, hazardous material and you have all this risk. And I said, how much are we talking about? I mean, we don't even keep as much chlorine down there as a public swimming pool
Right.
does. So are we really at that risk? So anyway, that was me, you know, I was still, you know, ignorant about a lot of things, but I was asking these questions going, well, why are you forcing this on us when it's not something that you two approve of or want? And it's certainly not something that's best for the town because it's more expensive, less efficient, and their reasoning didn't fit with our plan. So I was 100% in support of you rejecting that design from GRW. Because, but same kind of thing is that if I come up with an idea of, hey, let's do this to start working on fixing some of this I&I or stormwater issues or those kinds of things, it doesn't fit, then that's what I mean when I say it's your money, is I want you to say, time out, that doesn't work for us.
Sure.
And here's why, because of our expertise. I've been doing this 34 years. And you've only been on the council for 5, so your expertise trumps mine. Okay, I'm learning more about it. I mean, if you had told me 5 years ago I need to know this much about sewer systems, I'd have laughed at you. But there's a lot of stuff to learn and to try and figure out how does this work with our, and this is a customer service kind of an idea, is the customers are paying into this fund. So what are we doing to make sure the customers are getting what they pay for? And how does that look in the long run? I mean, according to the last, annual financial statement, there's $728,000 in that account, in that fund. So how are we spending that? You said 220,000
$270,000.
$270,000 on the Reagan
on the
Street,
Reagan Street.
and then
Okay,
like 250,000 on this one up here.
okay,
And then there's others that have, we've already spent money through, GRW's televising and scoping out. So when they first did theirs, there's fragments because we couldn't afford the whole project, right? They drew up this master plan of everything that kind of needed to be fixed, and we said, gotta scale it way back. And that's when we took out that $1.5 million loan, and we fixed basically what we could fix.
Alexa.
I was gonna say, is that Alexa?
yep. She's
You know
very
what?
It's a
She
wild
was
hair.
I heard something. So, yeah, so I think that goes back to the, you're asking me, could we spend the money with what I have inside the fence, and we had that number, I said, well, there's probably money left over. But if I'm in charge of both inside the plant and outside as a whole system, like, we're already out of money before we even start. And something that I think the board kind of needs to be aware of is that we just hooked onto the school, to our system. All things are gonna be hunky-dory. They have a 10-year loan. Guess what's gonna happen in 10 years? Most of the pumps, all that kind of stuff out there is gonna break, tear down. It's gonna fall on us to fix that. So we need to have some kind of a setback fund to take care of that and those problems that are gonna come up in 10 years. So it becomes a real big picture, and I need to understand if I'm over it all, then I need time to digest. Do we even have enough money to do what we're already accounted for? That makes sense.
Well, I mean, that's appropriate to ask that question. The issue, what I'm hearing is that 100% of that money that comes in isn't just for inside the fence.
Right.
I mean, you have to understand that this is for the whole
Oh,
shebang. Everything that's,
Yeah.
the customer is paying for, when I flush my toilet, it's just taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that includes the collection system, getting it down appropriately, you know, processing it at the wastewater treatment plant. Even after that, you know, when Mr. Penner takes away the solids for us and all that kind of stuff. So we, you know, that's,
Sure.
those are all steps that we figured into this process,
Yeah.
that we want to work well.
And so the I&I is a big factor of that, you know. If we had never fixed any leaks, and we would say, we don't have a big enough bucket to collect all the stuff that comes down here, property owners would be affected because their rates would have to go up because we gotta have a bigger bucket. So fixing the I&I makes the water going down there less, so it keeps the bills low, keeps them down to where we don't have to. So it is very important to make sure we do get this I&I out under control.
It also
But it's a big undertaking.
reduces the load that the
Absolutely.
facility's handling, which also applies to the equipment that's down
And
there.
on and on and
Yeah.
on. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
All right, and, you know, one of the issues you just brought up is, do we have enough money to fix this? And unfortunately, I can remember the public meetings that we had in 2020 to talk about raising the rate. And, you know, Kate down here at the end of Michigan, I think, asked the most appropriate question: why have we waited so long to start fixing this? And so what my perspective on this is, if we continue to take small bite-sized chunks every year,
Right,
then it's not going to be as bad of a problem in 10 years.
I agree.
And so, you know, the kicking the can issue, hopefully we can figure out a way to get that under control and not do that anymore. Let's address these problems little at a time. And, you know, so when I came to you a month ago and said, you know, what's the possibility of us having our own camera system so we can inspect some of these places in between getting the big projects like we had in 2020? What about, you know, our own equipment to get into some of these areas that we could fix if possible? I mean, I don't know if that's even an appropriate approach, just simply because of the expertise that's involved in that. I mean, I know you can't just have anybody dig up your sewer and then go to work on fixing it, because it can lead to other problems. And so, but I know from, talking to history buffs here in town, we've had issues with that in the past, where we just trusted that to just
It needs to be
anybody.
anybody that puts a new system in, it really needs to be inspected to make sure, I mean, just because you got a contractor that's putting it in, doesn't mean that they're trying to cut costs too, right? So they're gonna not necessarily do things wrong, but they're gonna do it as easy as they can, not with our best interest at mind. So any of those need to be inspected and checked out, and make sure that they're using the right materials and right things to hook up onto us, and that's being done right. Even so far as taking pictures of, what's being done, and document it and put it in the history book, if you will.
Sure. So just kind of some of my frustration with GRW is just it just gets my blood pressure up every time I think about, some of this process and some of the things that were going on. I mean, they wanted to create a lift station for us down at the wastewater treatment plant. I'm like, it's already where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Why do they need a lift station down there? But they did one thing that I was happy to hear that they did, is they built in that buffer. So even though you have these operational costs every year, we have to pay back SRF. I think that's $48,000 a year that we pay them to replay that loan. 48.
We paid almost $8,000 a month.
Okay.
No, you could try,
Yeah, almost $100,000 a year.
All right, so we're paying them this, but GRW built in a buffer above and beyond that, so that we had some money to continue doing, some of our preventative maintenance things, like more rehabs on manholes. I know we rehabbed a lot of manholes.
And what
but
do
we
you mean a
had-
buffer? Where is this buffer money at? In the loan?
Right, no, in the rate that we raised our fund up to. So our sewer rate got raised
But
up
it's
to
still
the,
right here in the final ending balance. You're saying 50,000, so it would come out of whatever our ending balance in sewer is.
right, so
Okay.
that, yeah, that ending balance, we would end up
It's
with
a
a,
buffer.
if we were, paying all our bills the way that they projected we would, then our surplus at the end of the year would be 50,000 if we didn't do any of the preventative maintenance things. So if we were gonna look at rehabbing more manholes, like we have several that still need to be done,
Right, yeah.
and then we would use that money towards that goal, towards that end.
But then
Obviously.
that 50,000, like you said earlier, though, it's gotta be 50,000 that gets looked at all the projects. If I'm in charge of it all, it's gotta be what's inside the fence, outside the whole kit and caboodle, including, is the stormwater in part of that, or is it getting pulled out in that separate
No,
bucket?
storm drain's got its own.
So we got a separate bucket that we can pull to fix those issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
There's about 75,000 in there
in that bucket.
at the middle of February.
So, 50,000 sounds like a big number, if it's coming into your household, but when it's attached to the sewer part, it's not even a drop in the bucket. So we'll definitely have to be very smart on how we organize what gets done, prioritize it, put a system together. We put something together, present it to the board, say, here's what we think should happen, step 1, 2, and 3, and then just make a 5-10 year plan out of it and start chunking away at stuff.
Now, George, do you guys have a budget that you present to Jenny?
Never have.
You guys don't
Never.
run a big budget, okay? Because that's kind of like my observation that I'm kind of getting here is that when we say it's your money or whatever, we as a town board, whenever we want to buy anything, we have to vote on it and make sure that we have the money.
Mhm.
I would not say that it's you guys' money for you just to do whatever you want to. I would think you would have to present it to Jenny to say, do we have the money in this
Before he makes a credit card
Before he
purchase or
makes-
anything, he
He
calls her.
always, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's
Well, yeah,
$10,
but-
he'll call and say, I need such and such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of also taken aback that you said that somebody called you for a down payment on this tractor.
He was called on Saturday to authorize money be used out of the sewer fund for a down payment on the tractor.
That was me, and I was asked to. I don't do that on my own.
Exactly.
Okay, because
I mean, let's get it out there.
Exactly.
Well,
I didn't
yeah,
say names, Pete, that's
yeah,
fine.
That's
I
okay.
don't throw
I
names.
just don't know why it would have been that way if we hadn't voted on it to be spent. So that's kinda got me,
That was why the special meeting was asked for that Saturday, was because that had occurred. And we were like, wait a minute,
okay,
we felt like a scapegoat.
well, yeah.
Like we were
because-
supposed to go, yeah, go ahead, I see, I get it, that's, yeah, we can use that at some point, yeah, we can use that for the sewer. But we felt like, well, I felt like a scapegoat,
Yeah,
and I wasn't gonna have that, I wasn't,
I wanna do
that's
the
why
best
we
job
asked
we
for a
can.
special meeting.
for the
right,
town.
and,
That's
Like,
right.
I don't-
and to tell you the
I'm not
truth,
in
I mean,
charge of this.
I don't know the tractor. I mean, that's why we're here, is the tractor, basically, I think. Is the tractor something that the town needs, or is it something that you guys will use and that you need? Who needs this tractor? That's where the money needs to come out of. If it's you guys' deal that it has to be used down there for things you're doing, then we need to find the money in the sewer budget to do it. But if this is just a way of the town getting a tractor, I don't see that. I
Well, I think that comes back full circle to, that's why I was calling Gar, it's like, I don't know if I could personally come and ask for that yet, cause I didn't feel like I was in charge of it, so I'm looking at this in a strange way that I didn't know I was in charge of all this stuff. So I have to go back to step one, I was only
What's our job description?
in charge of what's inside the plant, not outside. I've been trying to help, assist when Dan was on the board, hey, we got problems with this, what do you, and he would feed me information, and Jeff was there, and I'd feed him information, and then, I took it upon myself to, go try to find these leaks. It's like, why are we paying somebody big dollars to come and look? I'll just go start looking when it rains, make it simple, go lift some manholes.
right.
Out of that came, because I was in the technology in the field, I'm working with a buddy to develop a system to where we can actually let the manholes themselves do the looking. I don't have to do it, and then it brings real data into the system. So that's coming online, should be hopefully sooner.
That's the
We're on
IR
revision
system.
Like 3,
Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, we've tried several revisions, and because nobody's ever tried this, so we're working the kinks out. So we got a software guy now working on ironing out his issue. We went back and we're redoing the circuit board, another time to get it right. We've got the manhole part worked out, we've got covers and everything, so it's gonna be a really nice system when it's done. But,
Right.
there again, I was just doing it out of, man, I wanna try to help make this work, not that I was in charge of it.
Right. One other thing, one other point I wanna bring up, which has really nothing to do with this tractor that, well, it kinda does the budget, I guess, or something, but, how do I word this? You're probably getting closer to retirement age. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't be, us looking down the road, that probably within the next 4 or 5 years, you're gonna be looking
So-
to retirement.
So my dream was to work well into my 70s at doing this, because I wanted
Okay.
to retire from my day job. That happened sooner than I wanted it to. I don't know if the board's aware of that, but I no longer have a 9-to-5 job, so I'm looking to find something, because I just can't make enough income on what I've got now. But my plan was to, get to the point to where I could draw unemployment and just keep doing this. I've done it for so long, I can kind of do it in my sleep now.
Okay, well,
So,
cause I was thinking if you
I'm
were
planning on
gonna
jumping into it
retire,
soon.
that maybe we should be thinking that we're gonna have to get like an assistant
Yeah,
in here within the next 3 or 4 years that you could help train
right.
with our
That's,
system.
that was the reason that we got Mindy went ahead and got certified years and years ago, it was like, we don't want the town to be out. Once something happens, she's right there along, she knows how to do it. Something happens to me, she could pick up and keep on making things happen until you guys could find somebody else. or
But let's be
keep her.
honest, I'm 2 years younger, that's.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, she's a baby.
Baby.
So, to not make light of the story, guys go first usually. So.
Yeah.
But I have no plans to retire anytime soon from this. I love doing it, I love serving in town. To me, it's very fascinating what I do, so it's not a job, it's a joy to do it.
It's not a shitty job.
The official title Jamie is professional treasurer.
That's right.
Are you getting paid by Mill Creek Schools to take care of their,
I'm still doing that over there, yeah, right, so I'm still taking care of that, trying to monitor what's going on, what's happening, so,
But what's in the contract?
yeah, I'm not sure.
Is the town responsible for that lift station, the operation and maintaining that lift station? Or is the school?
I know in the beginnings, they were going to, turn that asset over to the town, and the town would own it.
That's after the bonds are paid.
Right. But
Yeah.
I don't know what the time frame is on that.
I think it's 10 years, it's 10 years to pay it off, that's why I made the point earlier that in 10 years, we need to be ready, because that's gonna turn over and totally become the town's responsibility at that point. To this point, it's still, we still haven't got all the issues ironed out, they're not even done with the project yet.
But on day one that they became a customer, they started paying their bill, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I
we,
mean, that's
we
additional
gotta make sure
money
that-
coming into that
Right,
fund that we didn't have 6 months ago.
correct,
So, but to go along with Leanne's point, that could be something that is designated in your budget
right,
that you have, is that you have a percentage of it. Here's a piece of pie that's gonna go towards the lift station at the school and the force main.
right.
Here's a piece of the pie that's going to be inside the fence.
Yeah.
Here's a piece of the pie that's gonna be the sanitary sewer collection system in the town of Clayton. And any other assets that we need, whether it's, you know, more manpower because of all the extra hours you're talking about, or, you know, whatever that might be, I don't know. I mean, is this collection system big enough that you need another person working for you to go out and do that kind of stuff?
I understand, yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, I went over and talked to, some other locations and stuff, and that fact has come up, you know. What do you do? Well, we run just the sewer plant part. We have 2 guys that their full-time job is doing nothing but taking care of this collection system and lift stations. Now, we've really been less blessed here in the town because we don't have any lift stations.
Well, now we
Yeah.
do.
We still don't, it's not ours.
Yeah.
But you're taking care of it, so, I mean, it works out to be,
Right.
you are the
I'm
one
learning.
stuck.
I'm learning, so
Right.
what I'm doing. I'm
So,
learning to make it better, you know, because you know the town's gonna grow, right? I mean, something's gonna have to happen that, I mean, there's knocking on our door. So eventually, we're gonna grow, there's gonna be a lift station, it's not gonna work out forever and a day that there are no lift stations. Which then, you know, so I don't know the answer, can we do it all yet? I don't know, probably, but, because I think a lot of it's gonna be management, it's gonna be sitting down, figuring out where we are financially, what really needs to be done, digging in deeper to what GRW has already done, what they, and trying to make sense of this, because like I said, everything I've looked at in the last 2 weeks, everything I look at seems to have issues within itself. So really, somebody needs to stand back and look at this as a big picture, iron out all the kinks and say, here's where we are in time, here's where we wanna go.
I have a question. Where did you come up with the over $700,000 in the sewer fund for
oh,
us?
that's just on the year-end financial report.
Because I have the report that she gave me from the town board meeting that was the funds, and that total was only 400 and something. So that's why I was asking where the 720 came
Sure.
from, because
No,
if
that's
the
a
sewer
valid
funds that
question.
we have
Yeah.
are only the sewage utility operating and the utility depreciation, for the sewage.
Right.
It doesn't come anywhere near 720.
According to this paper, so Fund 606 was utility operating. This says $425,572.29 was the end of cash, or in the cash balance at the end of December 31st, 2023. Depreciation fund, $229,552.77. And then it has, Jenny, I'm not too sure what this, the 439 fund of, it says sewer.
That's the storm drain fund. That's the $5 that's,
Okay, so
Taken over.
$73,565 for storm water. And then, has sewage construction in progress, $12.70.
yeah, so that's the big one.
Right.
So, track of that.
I know.
Progress.
And, these documents are, very dynamic. It's, obviously, we look at a static fund on a paper, but these funds are always changing. Obviously, when you, send in the cash drawdown for our SRF reply payment, that comes out of there. But, those are all things that are happening all the time. Same with, any kind of, purchases. So, the auger monster, you also purchased was it a new incubator last year, or what was the device that you?
Sampler, we have a
No.
new sampler, incubator.
We bought the incubator, we've had it for like 5 or 6 years, so. The sampler was like 3 years ago. We just bought the pressure washer. That was most
Auger
recent.
monster.
I remember you were raving about that.
I love it.
I just remember-
How to use it.
I remember you bought something new, and then I had to write a letter saying you could get rid of the old one, and,
That would have been the sampler.
okay, sampler. So those are all things that, just have, you just have to do that.
That's
So-
part of
Right.
making it, there's costs that goes on, that's just, you gotta have that, you can't
Right.
squirm about it.
You also, I don't know how much you pay every month for the chlorine delivery and the
Yeah.
other chemicals you get, but all those kinds of things. And then you've looked at, you got the aeration system in the chlorinating tank. You have, you've talked about how, the ultraviolet light gets rid of your chlorine, so we need a building
Right.
or a shelter over that.
Some means to cover
Right.
it will help, bring the cost down.
Right, so all those are things that, you have brought to us and said, I need to spend this money, and, that's appropriate. So, it's just, the rate increase that we did in 2020, 2021, whatever it took effect, was a huge increase. For the, the customers in town, the businesses, residents and stuff, but, is that, with inflation and everything else, is that enough? Did things change enough over the last 2 years that that's not enough of a rate? But, the AWWA has a book out on how to analyze your own rate, so you don't have to pay an engineering firm or a Baker Tilly to do a rate study for you. We can do it ourselves if we want to, but it's just a matter of trying to figure out where do we go with that. GRW wanted us to raise our rate up to $118 a month
Wow.
instead of just the 65. We didn't feel like we wanted to,
Can't do that.
right, be crucified at the end of the meeting by going that high. So,
Didn't we do an ordinance back then that was like a stair step type of thing, that was like, this is the amount now, and in,
that was in 2018.
That was like the 36 to 40 or something
Right.
like that.
have we done all the steps?
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, we're to the top.
Okay, all right,
That was
I
before
just
the-
remembered
Yeah,
that we
that was
had
before
to do,
the- That was before this raise.
Yes.
okay.
I wasn't on the town council yet at that point, I remember.
I don't think so.
Right. So.
And Leanne, that's the reason that you can't budget his money, because you never know what they're gonna need down there, and it's not taxpayer money coming in that you have to really, you know, pay attention to it. It's just the sewer money that comes in, which is basically, that's it. So you, like in this says February, the revenue was 41,968, but we dispersed 51,848, so we dispersed 10,000 more than what we brought in. So Jeff Eater tried to budget it, and it just doesn't work to budget it.
But you have an idea of.
Yeah,
All of the $200,000 here and the
Yeah.
2,000 up there and.
yeah, and he
you know.
doesn't ever spend anything that he calls to make sure there's money there to do it. Or he calls me and tells
And
me
we
I'm
don't
gonna get a
have-
bill.
We don't have 100% like way to verify the amount of money we're going to spend on the Regan Street project yet, because it hasn't been bid
No, it's.
to a contractor.
Yes.
We will only really know that
Then there's
number
all
when
these
it
other
bids
people
out to a
doing
contractor.
Yeah.
And so then we'll have, so, which, you know, you
10,000,
never know, you could
pay
get
that 10,000
four really good bids that, you know, bring it in at 170,000 instead of 270,000 or whatever.
And also
Yeah,
it's been
cool.
ongoing for a
Well,
year.
Yeah.
When
This
I
was
do the
started a
sewer
year ago
bills,
for that street,
it's usually
that project.
Well, I would argue that it started in
between 55 and
2019.
60,000.
It did.
When
That's
GRW
by the end of the month.
When
it's
GRW
down
first
Right, when they did all of
recognized
them.
that was a
22 or
problem,
so.
and then,
So
for
we're
some
only
reason,
about
we ignored it.
$40,000
Yeah.
and so, which is unfortunate. It's, you know, because things are more expensive now
And
than
then
they
I
were in
have to wait another
2019.
month
So if we
before I
could have
file
fixed this
against
in 19, we might have saved
Most of
even
them
more,
up there.
but
It's the same people.
it is what it is. I don't have a time machine. I can't move us back
I mean,
to
could
that
we put their name out there on
era.
the board and say,
It's just a
this
matter
is
of,
how much they owe? It's,
all we can do is move forward
Right.
with what we have, what we know. So we have,
right.
an
Because right now the
enormous
school's paying between the three schools.
hill to climb.
It's about 73.
I mean, obviously, we have this, you know, plan that GRW gave us to,
Like
you
our
know,
home
your
that
electrical
needs slush
panel
fund.
down there, your blower motors, your, I mean,
Well, maybe we
the,
should start doing that.
everything
Where'd you bring
basically
that up
under
so
the
you
sun
can
down
do
there, that's a
that?
50-year-old wastewater treatment plant. And you've, you know,
Or
had
how-
had a little, you know, cosmetic
We'd have
work
to make
done
an
on
ordinance
this
to do
north
that.
tank 2 years ago,
Yeah.
3 years ago, right?
Okay.
So your south tank still has that, I mean, they had to weld in supports for that wall that was about to collapse. So those are Band-Aids that we've been putting on this stuff. And, you know, how do we, you know, take off some bite-sized chunks that we can start addressing? And, you know, so when I caused this hornet's nest to stir up 13 days ago, saying, this is your money, it wasn't to mean you could just go out and spend it however you wanted. It's that if I sit here in this position and start saying, you're gonna buy this tractor for me, and you're gonna start working on these, you know, other areas, and you're like, well, that doesn't fit with what really our priorities are, then your expertise should trump mine. I mean, no
Makes
matter I mean, I get to hold the gavel up here, but I still should trump your expertise on where we go first, what we prioritize. You know, do we do the electrical panel first? Do we do the blower motors first? You know, is that something we even can do yet? I mean, with, you know, potentially $200,000, $270,000 that we might have to spend on this project, you know, that's gonna drop us down to under 500,000 now in your, you know, in your fund. So how much does this electrical panel run or gonna cost? How much is the blower motor issues? How much, I mean, obviously your little lean-to that you wanna build over your chlorine tank, shouldn't,
That-
shouldn't break the
That's
bank.
gonna fall well under my 5,000, just get it done.
Right,
Then,
that shouldn't break the bank. I mean,
I'm just gonna.
we should be able to do that without too much trouble. But,
Well, I think, I don't know where you want it, I mean, just I'm thinking out loud, I'm willing to do that.
Oh, I'm definitely willing
So
to help
if-
out with the
if-
collection system and whatever we need.
I'm not sure what direction the meeting wanted to take. Our part was just, we need to understand what the board wishes for us to do. And then we know what we're supposed to do, and then we'll bring it back, we'll present this, we'll take it from A to Z. We'll analyze all of it, come to you, and we're gonna have all answers right off, but we'll start presenting on a monthly basis. Here's where we're at, we'll start digesting this stuff, and bring a plan of, okay, now that I'm in charge of all of it, here's what I'd say we do.
Yeah, I think you should come up with a plan and we target like what is a priority and target that, and then priority number 2 on down the line. And then as far as, like you mentioned, the lift station down at the school, in 10 years, that's gonna come due. And I think we should take a portion of the money that they're sending in every month, shuttle that over to an account and not touch it until we
Get to some level.
till it's handed over to us, and then if there are problems with it, when it's in our ballpark, then we have the funds in an account sitting there, ready to do the repairs and take it over. So it's not an impact to, like, oh my God, what are we gonna do with,
Right,
How are we
how
gonna,
are we
how are we
gonna
gonna
fund and pay for that? You know?
absolutely.
So,
That'd be my warning flag to the board, and that'd be one of the first things that I would do is, I agree.
so if you could give us, in that, whatever you're targeting, your points of what we need to take care of first, throw in there what costs we would encounter 10 years down the road from now on components that would fail in that, that would need replaced.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then we can take a percentage of that money and stick it away to have that at that time.
you mentioned the last meeting that there were, certifications that you could get, to oversee this sanitary collection system
Yeah.
process, so.
Yeah, if I want to be in charge of that, I certainly, and I hope you guys would entertain that. I'll take some classes, courses, I'll brush up, and learn things that I haven't learned yet, just to build my expertise, if you will. So,
Well, I mean, I would strongly encourage that, in fact,
Yeah.
so, and, that's, if those are beyond your $5,000 limit, come back and tell us and we'll figure out.
that's what I typically do now with Jenny, it's just, there again, we have to take continuing education units, so, it's not big numbers, it's like, $500 here or there for,
Mhm.
so, that would be my plan, is if we're gonna be over all this, we'll get more educated than we are now, so we can be even better to address whatever might come up.
You might wanna look at, this is just me talking, their pay too, because if they were only if they're only getting paid inside the fence and now they're doing all this other stuff, they probably need more money. Just check and see, I know, I'm sorry, but just check
No,
and look
I'm
and,
just
check and look
kidding.
and see how much a sewer plant operator makes. It's a lot. It's a whole lot more than what they make. Just think about it.
And the certification, you guys are both gonna get your individual certifications, or
We already have.
are you,
We
We
already
have
have.
sewer, but you're talking about the
Collection
collection
system.
system.
I'm
if the
encouraging
board
you,
wants me to, yeah, I
reach
have no
out and
problems
do
with
that.
that.
and that way
Yeah.
we have,
So the collection system you're referring to is stuff outside the fence,
Yeah.
basically.
It's the pipes.
And there's a certification,
Well, I mean,
There's
there's
a level for that.
regulations and stuff that,
Okay.
what kind of pipe do you use for this? What kind of sizing should this one be?
When a lateral's hooked onto the pipe or the manhole.
right.
Kind of sub
Okay.
pipe should you use? How,
Okay.
How do you safely get down to a manhole? There's equipment we don't even have. If you open up a manhole, should you even go in there and look or not?
No.
Gas detectors, ideally, so
Right.
there's a lot
I
of
can't
stuff.
see it from up above the ground, I'm not going in there.
So
Well,
if you had certification, then could you approve of work that's being conducted?
yeah, that's where I would go with it, so that then we would become an expert to help as someone hooks on,
Mhm.
how should this be done?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
We have used AA Septic in the past for sewer hookups, to have them come out and he does a full report, you know, make sure that they are putting in the proper pipes and the backfill and everything about that. He takes pictures and presents an entire report, but that's what he's talking about, getting certified so that either one of us can do it,
Okay.
so
That
we
way
can
we're
have it.
representing the town, you know, not just whoever's hooking on or whoever's doing the hooking on.
Right.
We're looking out for the town's
You're-
interest.
You're there on
Yeah.
part of the town,
Yeah.
behalf of the town.
Any other questions, comments? Thoughts from council members? All right, well, hopefully that, clarifies enough and, although you mentioned the job description.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, so the job description, I don't know how accurate we want it to be, but certainly there's, even if we say, okay, now we're gonna be, responsible for outside the collection system or what have you, there's still things within it that's, you know, if I'm not here and somebody else comes in, they're gonna say, well, where's that piece of thing that I'm supposed to be in charge of? It doesn't make sense, so probably things that we probably still need to redline, even though it's just maybe, I don't know, handful of things. We probably should clean it up a little bit, so it's really representative of what we're doing. We
All right, so you can work on those
Yeah,
proposed edits and then
Yeah.
get it back to us?
yeah.
And then with the, asset management plan, I mean, that was the whole reason we started on that is GRW said the asset management plan requires a job description for you, so,
Right. That's why I thought drove it all, so.
right, we just need to make sure that
And it was
fits with
probably some
whatever.
sort of boilerplate kind of description.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because we borrowed money from the state of Indiana, they have this basically rubber stamp that says, okay, since we're giving you money, you have to comply with these set of standards, and that's job description. But I don't remember seeing specifications in that asset management plan on what the job description had to say. I mean, technically, if we go back, I got that job description from Plainfield's wastewater treatment plant operator, and then I changed some things. You and I talked about a few stuff that I took out lines, but obviously it wasn't.
Yeah. Right. I
Enough.
think that's where we come down to one line, it's like,
So-
we just go ahead, it's just for an asset management.
Oh, yeah.
So we just need to get one that is accurate. I think it needs to be, there's no reason to have things in there that are not useful to us.
Right.
There's no reason to not have things that are gonna help you. So the job description should be as accurate as possible so that there's no question on what actions should and should not be taken.
Gotcha.
No, I think we're good. My day just got busy.
All right, any other
Good.
questions, thoughts, comments? Okay,
So, just to recap, we'll move forward, are we saying at this time now, then, we're in charge of inside the fence and a collection system, right?
yes,
And then you'll work on the other pieces of very important equation, right? Please?
Could you work on mine? Mine's only $200 and some dollars a month.
No,
She's serious.
Serious.
she's dead serious.
That's a hard attack.
But,
I'll leave that to you guys.
but going along with the way I see it now, you're in charge inside and outside, taking on more responsibilities. Now, that may consist of course, we have a maintenance person. There's times, you know, in the past, we've dug up pipes and stuff like that ourselves and tried to rectify situations and stuff like that. Cause I remember Roy used to work for your dad then.
Yeah, but that was a totally different situation.
Right, I
than what we got
understand,
going on now.
But,
And I think, that's where I would see it. If I'm gonna be in charge of it, doesn't mean I have to do it. If I'm capable of doing it, I will. If not, let's say we gotta dig up something, and I'm gonna go to Pete and say, Pete, we need this.
right, I don't mean you have to do it. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just going towards, we need something that we can do that with.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
you
piece-
don't have to have the tools.
Yeah, and the
whatever.
piece of equipment we got now, that long tractor, that's roughly 99, the year we bought it, 89, somewhere around there. And it don't have a backhoe on it. The bucket don't work that well, it leaks a lot, don't have many hours on it. But,
Is it Deloitte's?
but in the, I can see where that would be a benefit to the town if you wanted to lift a manhole up, hook on it, have accessories with it that you could use for that there, but I don't know if you'd have to just say, date rectify that it's just for sewer business only, no, couldn't use it for any kind of other town stuff, if you needed some stone or anything like that.
Why don't we get his plan of attack on what projects need to be addressed first? If within that project scope, we're gonna need something like a tractor, then we talk about it then and get the tractor to do that work. If the town can benefit from it, that's a secondary benefit, but if it's a primary benefit of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system, then we should look into that at that time. I would like to get all his numbers and where his project funding is going to need to be, and then look at what he's going to need for the project.
But,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah, but on the other hand, I agree with you, that's a good idea, but like we say, everything keeps going up, and how hard it is to get equipment anymore, or can you get something? So, this is my own personal opinion, the longer you wait on something to get it, it's gonna cost more, or it may not be there to get. So, but I'm just one, so.
But if you don't know how much he's gonna need of this money, you can't say, let's spend $60,000 and then he needs it. Cause
Yeah.
you don't have it budgeted in the town
Right, I know we
funds.
don't have the
If you
budget.
wanna take it out of his money, what if something horrible comes up and he needs that money for something else?
I'm just saying, that was just my personal.
I'm just saying too.
Well, I'll be the first to admit, I was pro-tractor coming into the meeting, but now hearing everything about the little bullet points that have to be taken and addressed, and we need to plan out over time, we better get those ducks in a row, so to speak, and then address what we need to get those done, rather than just going out and grabbing the tractor right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't wanna get a tractor and then find out that the tractor we bought doesn't have enough power to do the work that George needs it to do, or something like that, you know what I mean?
But I do know if anybody's ever used that one we've got in town now, it don't do nowhere near what you need it to do, but I didn't buy that, so.
All
Like I
right.
say, we'll put together some real quick rough stuff, but I don't know if I'll have answers by next month, just to
Yeah.
preface.
What was the timeline on the tractor as far as how long that quote would be good for?
Oh, it didn't say.
Okay.
any other piece of equipment sitting on a lot of the,
No, it's gonna,
so,
if it's gone, and you get a new quote.
Yeah. And I am gonna say, it was kinda floating out there, I heard it through the grapevine. Some people thought we was wanting to get rid of you and Mindy, and that's not true. That's not what this meeting's about, there was no,
I am 60.
yeah,
One.
but, no, I meant, I think you guys are doing an exceptional job, so that was never,
Okay, thank you.
even thought about. I don't know why it was, or the vicious rumors started or stuff, but it wasn't started through us, so,
I think, too, not having answers, you create your own answers, right?
yeah.
So
And this is the best way to get a correct answer we got to,
Yeah.
so.
I think we at least know where we're standing, that you guys feel comfortable with us, so we have a good starting point. Move forward. You guys have any questions for us?
No?
Okay. Put together some stuff and bring it to the next meeting.
all right. Anything else before we adjourn?
Yeah, I'd like to, I kinda remember, we're gonna be getting the LED lights, right, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay. And him and I was gonna go out and look for some more poles, but can you remember, Leanne, how many, what we saved, how many more lights we can?
So I had that, all that paperwork.
It's
Oh.
on-
Was it,
He's got it right
was it
there.
18?
Well,
That we could get 18 more poles?
and still
Yeah,
pay
it
the
was-
same,
It was something like that, yeah.
and still pay the
I
same,
think it was.
oh, okay.
Something like that, 18 additional poles.
Well, evidently you need some down here in Tennessee and Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Adam, we was just gonna, we've got poles that don't have lights on them. And I think that's what, I was under the assumption that we would look at poles, yeah, you can just put the light on that pole there, it's already a pole there. They wouldn't have to put a new pole in the
Right.
concrete, yeah,
Well, I don't know if they'd go for putting new poles in,
yeah,
but I mean, we could put lights on.
On the
poles that
existing.
don't have lights.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
so 18, I'm around rate of 18,
I think that was it.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I had. Yeah, if you guys any ideas where you want one, just let me know, so.
Out here.
We're gonna go out here, yeah.
It's dark out here.
Oh, that's on a timer, that timer,
Somewhere out here.
these are on a timer, but right in that little room there,
Well, the other night,
yeah,
I gotta replace the light on the police station, it's out.
yeah.
And I don't know what happened, the light that shines on the flag's out too. And that's
Wasn't he, yeah. That was like 6 months old.
yeah.
Well, they just don't make things like
Bulbs
these.
out or no power? Bulbs down?
I don't know, I just noticed it Friday night. when
They
I
don't
pushed
make
the
them like
snow,
they used
They
to.
don't make things like they used to.
that was
It's
out.
not on a GFI or
I
something.
hope this guy down here.
I don't know what a
it's out.
GFI is.
Ground fault
Remember, he
interrupter.
told me it's against law.
Ground what?
Ground fault interrupter.
Ground fault interrupter.
Well, it's, yeah, it's in the flag code.
I'll remember that.
That if you have
Get
a
quiz
I'll
next week.
tell-
flag
Tell Larry.
on
I
a
think
pole
that lights out
overnight, it
because
has
it's
to have a
not on the
spotlight on it.
GFI.
Yep,
That's all I had.
okay. Consensus to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All
Yeah.
right.
Larry's GFI.
7:08.
Oh, it is.
Adjourn.